All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we are here at Monza. We're here with Area 51 Racing League Indy Series. Got the standings here for tonight. So we're going to show those real quick. So we're going to do things a little different this evening, but you can see though after those two wins, Craig Forsyth able to grab the lead over Eric Schaus. Only a 3-point lead though. In third, you've got Charles Johnson, Chris Jabot in fourth, Todd Merkel in fifth. Then through sixth through 10th here, you've got Michael Spell, Jim Brooks, Bud Steele, David Patton, and James Ledford. And so I was talking about doing something a little bit different. With this track being so different than what we've been running before, and this is also going to be a very different configuration of Monza than what some of you might be familiar with as well. I'm going to take you through a lap of the track and kind of explain what I'm doing and where things are going on so you can get a better idea of what the drivers are going to be going through. Before that though, I am joined in the booth this evening by my good associate Steve Gottschalk. Steve, always a pleasure to have you on the in the booth with me here. This is going to be an interesting one.
Pleasure to be here, Gael. Hi, everybody. Yes, it's definitely going to be interesting. And Gael's going to take you guys through a lap around this track so you can see what it's actually like, which is going to be interesting because I just bought the track a little while ago and turned my first laps in practice, and I just barely know which way the turns go. There are some places on this track that are really tricky, and you're going to see them when Gael gets out there. A couple places because we're not using the whole track where there's actually a grass strip that goes across that kind of plays with your mind because you feel like when you first go out there, like I'm not supposed to go across that.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Steve. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out on track now. Let me turn this guy off because we don't need it. All right.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see Gael because of the way the iRacing is structured.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, Steve cannot see me, so we're going to take us through laps. I'm going to get up to speed here. And so basically what we're doing right now is, first thing to note is you got to stay towards the right there until you saw that blue cone to the right. But then the rest of this way here, your foot is to the floor. You do not want to lift at all through this part of the track. So you can go flat foot. And this is one of the spots Steve was talking about. It's easy to trick yourself. Normally you're slowing down already for this turn. Here you're going to go flat foot through. And then you're going to do this 100 mark here. You're going to start braking, get down to third gear. Almost spin out like I just tried to do there. Then get back on the gas quickly as you can. And then get back down again to the brakes at the 50 marker. And then same thing, try to get back on the gas as quick as you can here. And then again, another long straightaway here. Monza are really known for its long straightaways. It's a really fun to track the run here. So this is going to be definitely one of the difficult parts of the track. You're going to go right under the board there. Same thing here, down to third gear. And you got to be real careful on throttle because it's easy to do that. And then you can really cheat the exit here. You can kind of let it drift out if you want to, kind of come all the way out here if you want, and then bring it back down on the track again. And then as you're going to come to this last section of the track here, and then so you're going to see a little green patch right there. That's kind of my braking mark. I figure out where to go. Same thing, down the third gear, and then try to get the gas as soon as you can. But you got to be careful because if you get on too soon, you can wash out there. Things will end very poorly for you. Then again, another long straightaway here, and then without this. And here's what Steve is showing you that you get tricked by. You're going to see on your left here, you're going to see some braking markers over here, which actually, where are they? So normally there's a little shortcut right there. So you drive through this part here where you normally go through that little chicane to your right. And so that's what really throws you off a little bit. So that's obviously kind of just an up to speed lap. These guys are going to be going way faster than I am going to be able to. So I did the test run with them last night, though. It was a ton of fun. I had a blast doing it. They make me miss racing them a little bit. So trouble spots, though, I think are going to for sure be all of these slow turns. So basically there's 4 real slow turns. Like I mentioned, this one here, the next one there. This is called Lesmo 1. Next one here I believe is Lesmo 2. And then once you get down the rest of this track, unfortunately, I'm not sure what the name of that little left, right, left section is that's coming up here in just a moment. And that last sweeping right-hander, though, is called the parabolic, and that's one I told you about having to be careful about the getting down to speed on time, and not overdriving the throttle and exit as well. And what I'm going to also show you is the pit entry. It is a very quick pit entry that you have to be extremely cautious about because if you get a pit penalty here, it's going to hurt because while these guys are going to be going nearly 200 miles an hour, you're going to be stuck for probably an extra 40 seconds. So we'll come through this last turn here. And I'll show you is once you get down here, you're going to see the pit entry just to the right away. So you get it down here right at this cone, and then get down to pit speed, and then from there, so you just cruise at 40 miles an hour while everybody's blasting by at about 150. So it's kind of a slow lap here.
Start looking for your sign.
As I hear my spotter there. So then, of course, the next step is to make sure you hit your pit marks here. Wait for your pit
4,
crew.
3, 2, 1. Stop on the sign.
And so, yeah, so that is a lap here of Monza. So let's get back out. And so, yeah, so Steve, we got about 2 minutes left in qualifying. So I don't know if you want to add anything else there.
Well, while you were taking your lap, I tried to do a lap at speed, which was my first one that I tried to do at speed this whole time. And unfortunately, the brake bias got me on one of the turns. I had to go down to third gear, and I spun out and crashed. But I finally went full speed through that little kink with the countdown markers. Guile and he talked about this when he was taking his lap. There's just one spot where it's got countdown markers, and when I first went out there, I'm like, okay, Guile told me to brake at the 100 mark, and so I braked, and I see all these people flying by me. I'm like, why are they doing that? And then I realized that it was just like a little left kink in the track there, and you go over a grass strip, which didn't even look like you were supposed to go there. And I did that at speed for the first time, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun one. I say again, hitting your marks, your braking. But say I think the critical things tonight, Steve, are going to be hitting your marks on the braking point, getting your brake bias adjusted right, and then of course just being consistent and trying to keep it on track. Because without any fast repairs, it is going to be a challenge. I think attrition definitely going to play a big role in this one.
Yeah, definitely. I think the people who just go out there and drive the track as opposed to trying to race other people or trying to overdrive what they're capable of are going to do the best. And I will say that the trickiest part is that left, right, left chicane. It's really hard to get through there quickly.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Everything else it's not that bad. It kind of makes sense to me, where the braking points are, how you're supposed to slow down, how you're supposed to get around the turns. And they're not that bad. They're actually kind of fun. But that left, right, left chicane is really tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. I think that's going to be one of the big trouble spots because there's just so many options where you can kind of mess up a little bit. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be exciting though. I'm really looking forward to it. The key I think also is going to be these drivers just need to give and take those first couple laps, let things spread out a little bit, and then really get after it. All right. So with that though, let's go ahead and get our starting grid up here. All right, so on pole position is going to be that number 99 of Matt Wagner with a 119.401. Craig Forsyth in second, just about 2/10 off. Eric Schaus third, Jim Brooks fourth. In fifth, you got Chris Tague, Chris Jabot in sixth, Charles Johnson, Charles Teed. Then 9th through 16th here, you got David Patton, Jason Bridges, AJ Hobson, David Leclerc, Jared Kaczynski, Corey Lane, Don Runkle Jr., saying those are drivers that made their qualifying laps. So say drivers are trying to start towards the back here. AJ Musselman in that number 54. And you got Michael Spill, James Ledford, Logan Helton. Nice to see him back with the Area 51 guys. Max Davies, Jack Walls, Benjamin Combs, Joey Guttina, Nicholas Winook. And we got Gary Corley and John Brill rounding out our 26 drivers for tonight's event. So I'm going to be curious to say pit strategy is going to also come into play here depending on how far you can stretch it on fuel. That could definitely be a big one for tonight's race. So it's going to be interesting. You see here, they're going to start kind of do like a half lap, it looks like, of pace speed. I see a few drivers here starting, looks like they haven't gridded yet, so I wonder if there's going to be some strategy of drivers maybe starting from the pits tonight, Steve. That's another strategy that they can do to try to maybe avoid some of the initial carnage potential. But again, though, I'm sure all the admins with the league are trying to really kind of hammer it in there that you really got to give and take here early on. Let the race sort itself out, and then from there kind of get after it.
Yeah, definitely. I would be torn about starting in the pits or just starting at the back, letting everybody kind of take off, and then just passing people when they make mistakes.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I would do it too. Is just try to capitalize on the mistakes, and say it's a risk versus reward. Of course, if you're in the front, you're worried about somebody running into the back of you. If you're in the back, you're worried about getting into somebody in front of you. So it's a really big mixed bag of what could happen. And yeah, it looks like drivers are going to start from the pits. I see already kind of queued up here. Our Donner Uncle Jr., AJ Musselman, Michael Spell, and Jack Walls. They're all queued up in the pits. Going to try to get going as soon as they can. Waiting for James Ledford. Not sure if he's in the server or not. He is one other driver that is not on the grid here. So we'll have to keep an eye on them and see if this pays out possibly on the strategy side of things for them. Also could maybe do, I say you see they're going to use a little bit less fuel as well with this pace lap that they've got going on. So that could come into play. And then also these drivers do have the 10 push-to passes that they can use. And along with that, of course, is going to be the draft, which is going to be extremely critical. So yes, this is one I don't know why, but I'm actually really excited about this race more so than the others. I think just because of just how different and just how much fun it was when I was able to run that practice race with them last night.
When you ran that last night, did you actually, were you around other cars a lot? What was that like?
A little bit here and there, yeah. It's tough. I mean, because the thing is, even these cars actually you're kind of limited by the gearing on your top speed. So say wait for that green flag to fly here in just a moment. Say Matt Wagner's going to lead him away, but yeah, so you're kind of limited. And here goes the green flag. You see actually Charles Johnson, he's going to pull on over, not risk anything there. Matt Wagner, though, it's a really good start there. We've got a good battle right away though for second between that 72 of Eric Schaus, the 131 of Craig Forsyth. Those two again are right now our championship top two here. So say they're going to get through this first right-hander here. Again, full speed ahead, foot to the floor. Say there's no lifting at all at this point in the track. This next session as well, you're going to be foot to the floor. And I say this is going to be our first braking area into this Lesmo 1. Say again, third gear. Try to make sure you don't overshoot the turn, get into that dirt. And so far, so good up front here. So try to keep an eye a little further in the back as well. And saying those drivers that made those green or pitted from the left from the pits, they're all on track here as well.
Yeah, interesting. The top three right now are the same top three that we had last week.
Yeah, say these three. And as you guys see, there's some trouble in the back there. I saw Jim Brooks. Looks like he's gone around. Oh, we got a big wreck here in that. You're talking about that trouble spot, and yeah, we have a lot of cars involved. More cars getting caught up in this one. So we were talking about that being the trouble spot here. So we're going to have to go back and try to get an idea of what all happened because this was a massive incident. Say a lot of drivers involved. And like I mentioned, if there are no fast repairs, we're going to have a lot of trouble this evening. I say a lot of, or I should say a lot of, what do you call it, attrition this evening. So let's take a look here. Try to find a better view so I can get a really good shot of it. So I know it started around the 76 of Jim Brooks, actually, who's right in front of him. I saw someone loop it. I try and tell what the car that was in front of Jim that spun. It's a silver and red car, number 7, I believe that is. I think it's maybe Chris Tigg. So you see Jim tried to react to it. He gets into the wall. Unfortunately, that camera doesn't show us anything there. Let's get a better angle here. Oh, yeah, and you can see just from there, just everybody's spinning to try to avoid it here. So, unfortunately, a lot of carnage here early on. I honestly can't tell you for sure who all isn't in it at this point. So say we'll try to see exactly how it panned out.
And I have to give a hard luck comment for Don Runkle because his biggest concern tonight was running into people who were stopped on the track in the middle of the track. And so he started in the pits to give himself a nice cushion. And we had that huge wreck and people hadn't cleared by the time he got to the chicane. And unfortunately, just as he was going through there, someone backed up into him.
Yeah, so that's that kind of that risk versus reward. So say we've had a lot of drivers in the pits. So I say for sure we can mention those involved: AJ Musselman, Don Runkle Jr., Jim Brooks, Michael Spell, James Ledford, Nicholas Winook, I believe, Charles Johnson, Jack Walls also are caught up in it. Corey Lane, I believe, as well. So again, a lot of drivers caught in that first lap incident. Unfortunately, like I said, just some issues at the beginning. at the beginning, and that's what caught up some of those drivers. And just again, it happened towards the front, so there's just not a lot you can do, and you try to react. But again, at that track, you really got to just focus on hitting your marks, and so when you're off just that little bit, it just comes back to bite you, unfortunately. I'll say that's really spread the field out here, though, now, Steve. So right now, our top three, let's say these were kind of the three where we kind of had a feeling would be the ones to go after, or would be the ones to go after this win tonight with Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus. Let's say they seem to be the ones that are really quick week in and week out, especially when you bring it out to the road courses. So those two are all trying to stick to each other here. Can use that draft as well to stick with each other. And then right now in that 4th position is that number 5 of Chris Jabot. Chris was able to get through that carnage there. So and appreciate the paint scheme he's got on there, so you can see as he comes into that Parabolica here, that number 5 machine, the green, white, checkered TV paint scheme on there. So really appreciate it. Chris always does some awesome paint schemes. And right behind him in 5th, to say we got a pretty good battle here. So we got AJ Hobson, Charles Teed there. I believe AJ just got around Charles for that 5th position. So these two running in 5th and 6th respectively. And I'll say things are going to spread out just a little bit further here. You've got Max Davies in the 51. Say Max is one of those ones, though, Steve. He got through that carnage at the beginning, and say he's gone from 20th to 7th here on these initial couple laps.
And I want to give a shout out to Joey Jatina from Sim 500, which is now, I guess, combined with Area 51. Joey is the master of Sim 500, and he took a NEOL and started at the back, and he is currently up to 11th. I'm sure at least partly from avoiding the wreck, because he just bought this track too, so he came in as blind as I did. Yeah,
you're exactly right. So yeah, Joey right now up into the 11th position. So jump back a little forward. So Jared Kaczynski 13th to 8th right now. And then behind him, that's number 7 of Chris Tague. We saw Chris was one of those ones that had that initial spin, able to still keep it going though, up into 9th. Logan Helton in the 63 is in 10th position. You can see actually has some rear wing damage, but he's going to go ahead and keep at it here. I think they can repair, and actually, as I said, that big loose in that turn, the turn where we had the trouble earlier, able to get it back together though. But yeah, so they might be able to repair that wing under the pit stop, or I should say replace the wing under that pit stop. So we'll keep an eye on that. And behind him, we've got Jason Bridges there in 12th position, right behind Joey Gatina, like we just mentioned.
Gary Gael,
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got a great battle going on for 3rd place between Chris Jabot and Eric Schaus. When they came around the right-hander going onto the front straightaway, they were actually side by side, and Chris was on the outside. Unfortunately, he lost that battle, but he is hanging right there with Eric. So this is
So it looks like Eric must have had a moment, because like we were talking about, he was in that top 3 battle, and so he's fallen to about 6 seconds out. So may have gone off track, or maybe had a quick little spin and got it back going. So like I said, it's kind of fallen him into Chris's lap to try to see if he can make a challenge for him. Which right now it looks like Eric's starting to try to sneak back ways. I say that though, he's spins through there. You see Chris has to try to take evasive action and actually hit one of those turtles that you basically can call them. So Eric's going to have to get that car repaired. So I say this track is definitely starting to bite. We'll take a look at Chris's car, because I think he's got some front wing. He's got a little bit of left front wing damage from hitting that turtle like we had mentioned. So that car is definitely not going to handle as well as it had earlier. We mentioned with Eric, I say that car's got some pretty significant damage. I'm sure we're going to see him hit the pits here. He's going to try to see if he can get that thing repaired. I say this track is just, it's one it bites, and see, it does get down to pit speed pretty well there. So right now, top 2 are still that 99 and the 131, Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth. They're still nose to tail here. Chris is now up to 3rd, about 10 seconds off the pace, but again, I think just keeping this thing in one piece and keeping it on track is going to be the kind of the goal of this one. And actually, as I say that, I think I see a car slow in. Yeah, actually, I see John Brill, and I believe that's James Ledford. Also looks like they had a bit of an off-track excursion. Getting back on track now, but again, traffic coming around. Looks like Charles Johnson was able to just sneak by there. So a lot going on here. Also see the 10 of Corey Lane in the pits. I don't think this is scheduled yet. They can go usually about, I think, 10, 11 laps on fuel is roughly the pit window. So I think Corey may have had a moment as well on his machine. So there's a lot happening here in a short amount of time. You see leaders going around James Ledford as he's trying to limp that car back to the pits as well. So this track is definitely biting, and biting early.
and fighting quite a few people, which I'm a little bit surprised about. But I guess that big wreck in the chicane took care of quite a few.
Yeah, so that took out, I think, at least a half a dozen drivers. So I say up front, things still holding pretty steady here. Chris Jabot still holding onto that third place by about 3 seconds or so over AJ Hobson. So I want to try to grab a few of those other drivers that we had mentioned earlier. Say Eric Schaus is back on track. Right now I'm trying to see if he's a lap down or not, but say obviously he's going to still have to make a couple more pit stops. I don't think this was in the first window. However, at that point he had no choice. He had to make a pit stop there. So he's going to try to kind of, basically at this point you just try to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, the track obviously bit you. You've seen it's bit a lot of other drivers here as well. So I think at this point you just try to do everything you can. Saying leaders coming up in a few cars here that are going to be kind of lap traffic, if you will, first with John Brill. As I think we'll see, John Brill's going to move over here, let the leaders swing on by there. And so I want to try to go through a few of those other drivers we didn't have a chance to mention yet. Steve, Gary Corley, I was trying to mention him when we went to that battle there. He is from 25th to 11th in the 65 machine. Then you got the 38 of David Patton in 12th. David Leclerc here in the 50 machine is in the 13th position. I always said Eric Schaus looks like he cycled through into 14th, so actually not too bad of shape, still on the lead lap. So I mean that's about the best you can hope for where things are at the moment. I saw a message from Eric Morgan a little earlier on. I say that was a fan of Benjamin Combs, that 77 machine. Benjamin still, car looks to be in pretty good shape here as well. He is showing in the 15th position. Charles Johnson, after getting some repairs done to his car, is back running as well. He is in 16th. And then John Brill, as we just mentioned there a moment ago, is in 17th. Jack Wall's in 18th position. And unfortunately, it looks like Logan Helton wound up retiring with that damage that he had. And I believe... Oh, no, I thought we had a lead change, but not yet. Right now, Charles Johnson right now on the tail end of the lead lap. I'm not sure if he's going to let the leaders by. He wants to try to hold the lead lap if he can. But actually, as I said, he's going to drop off the line there. Let the leaders swing on by here. And so right now those top two still sneaking away here, Steve. But that is just, this is a lot. We're not even at lap 10 yet, and we've had a lot of stuff happen here.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of it all.
I saw Matt Wagner do a little dive off towards the pits there. Not sure if he was trying to fake the pit entry or not, or maybe just trying to break the toe. Because right now that's what Craig's got to do right now. He's just got to stay right in the toe of this number 99 machine, because that's going to be his best chance here, is to stay right on that rear wing of Matt Wagner and try to see if he can hold on to the draft and just be there at the end and not make any mistakes. And the hard part though for him is when you're following somebody this closely, it's so easy to miss your braking points or make little mistakes trying to kind of base everything off that car in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot harder to follow than to lead at a track like this. And the other thing that I think makes this really tricky is you've got these long straightaways where you're in sixth gear and you're at top speed, and down into especially the chicane. It's very tough to get your mind oriented to slowing down enough for those spots.
Yeah, it really is, and that's a really good point, Steve. So right now, still watching Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth. Really great battle for the lead here. Actually got a good battle going on just a little further back here with AJ. Oh, as I say that, AJ Hobson actually loops it around and he's going to get it pointed back in the right direction. He was in a battle, I believe, with Max Davies, I want to say, for the 4th position in that number 51 machine. Unfortunately, that's going to cost him a little bit of track position. Charles Teed able to sneak on by as well. But looks like AJ is going to be able to recover and still hang on right now, showing in the 6th position. So, again, this doesn't matter who you are or what lap you're on. It's easy to get hung out here. And it looks like AJ going to hit the pits here. Also got a good battle with David Patton, 38. He's right now running. Actually, he's got a little bit of rear end damage in that machine as well. So he's trying to catch, I believe it was, I got to find his name again here, Joey Gattina in that 22 machine. As you can see, though, Eric Schaus, he's going to swing on by. Though you see David Leclerc, he takes it a little wide through the parabolica. That's an easy turn to overshoot us. I've done it plenty of times myself. So Eric, like we mentioned, though, is on a slightly different pit strategy. Had to get that repair done to his car. however, is now back into the top 10, up to 9th, and working on 8th from that number 22 car.
Yeah, that's a nice recovery. So how many laps do you think they can go on fuel?
I want to say the fuel window is about 10 to 11 laps, so I said we might actually see him in this time. And actually, here comes Matt Wagner. Craig Forsyth, though, he stays out, so he's going to go an extra lap here. And we'll see. This could come into play because, if you kind of crunch the numbers here, Steve, with Matt Wagner coming to pit at lap number 10, he's going to still have to pit. I would say he's going to have to pit coming to, let's say, lap 50, if that's the... what do you call it? If that's the number that he's running right now. So with Craig stretching this one extra lap, he may be able to pull off one less stop than our race leader there in the 99 of Matt Wagner. So this could get interesting on the fuel strategy side of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, I'm sure that Craig wanted to get some points for leading a lap there. I think.
Oh yeah, say laps led definitely going to be important as well. Say get a point for the lap led, get another point for the most laps led. There was a bonus point for the pole position. That's going to go to Matt Wagner. And, of course, also a bonus point for most positions gained, which right now I believe is going to be either Max Davies or Gary Corley. They've gone from 20th to 3rd and 25th to 7th, respectively. So I'm not going to do the math because I'm not good at that. But, yeah, so right now I'd say a lot that can definitely... And, again, still, we're only approaching lap number 11 here, so a long, long ways to go. As I'm sure we're going to see Craig Forsyth hit the pits this time. I don't think he could stretch another lap out of it. And sure enough, here he comes. Make sure he gets down to pit speed. Does a really good job of that. So now the question is going to be, we're going to wait for that 99 here. Matt Wagner, we're going to watch him as he's coming through that chicane. Say again, I wish I knew the official name. Don't know it offhand.
Kyle, what was the fall off like in these things last night?
I'll say, actually, I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like best lap to their... it looks like maybe about a second or two. Not a ton of fall off, I think, just because of, again, how much straightaway there is. So I'll say I think that's not going to be a huge issue on that. I think really the field number is going to be the critical thing. As actually I see the 131 Craig Forsyth leaving his pits now. And let's wait and see. We'll see the 99 here coming up very shortly. And it looks like for the moment Craig's going to probably be able to hang on to this lead. Now I wonder if there's going to be a cat and mouse game of... I say, okay, I led that first segment. You know what? I'm going to draft off of you this segment. But actually, it looks like Matt's decided, you know what? I just want to lead. So Matt's going to swing around that 131. But Craig's going to stay right back, cycle through right on the draft of that number 99 machine. So, again, might be able to stretch even an extra lap again through this cycle of this run.
Yep. And the other nice thing is he's got one lap fresher tires. So
yep.
I thought the reason I asked about the fall off, a lot of times what happens to us in our oval track races, the guy that pits first will have, a second or 2 second advantage over you if you're like right with them, if you pit a lap later. So you come out of the pits and the person you were running right behind is now 2 seconds ahead of you, but you got fresher tires. So the question is, can you chase them down and get by?
That's a great point, Steve. You're right. And so I think with the Indy cars, it's a little bit less of tire fall off with these guys. And then also just, again, how weight sensitive they are. Say, with, like you mentioned with the Cup cars, they're so heavy. Matt Wagner trying hard to break the draft as we're watching from Craig Forsyth. But say one thing that these cars really do, and yeah, he's definitely trying to break the draft as much as possible here. And Craig's just going to chase him as they're pretty much snaking down the front stretch here. But yeah, so one thing though is these cars are just so much lighter that almost the fuel difference offsets the tire wear a little bit, as we've seen a lot in the oval racing. And I'll say, but yeah, I think with these straightaways here, I think as long as you've got the draft, that's going to be the key here. Saying Craig's going to definitely do everything he can to stay in that draft of that number 99 of Matt Wagner. And saying, unfortunately, at this point, Matt's really just, he's kind of defenseless without some help from a mistake from Craig. Because even if he uses a push to pass to try to sneak away from him a little bit, there's only so much that you're going to be able to do just because of how strong this draft is.
Yep, and it did look really funny. I don't think that that move to break the draft was helping all that much, though.
Oh, we got a lot of slow traffic up in front here. Oh, you see a couple cars off track there. Saw the 50 of David Leclerc was one. I think the other might be, nope, was not James Ledford. Let me try to check a better look at who that is. That was, it's the 65 of Gary Corley. He was actually moving up pretty well as well. So it looks like Monza has bit him as well. So right now they're working on one more car. I believe that is the 38, I want to say, of David Patton, I believe that was. So I put David a lap down in that 38 machine, as still Matt Wagner is saying. You can see the patience they did. There's definitely no sense on risking trying to push the issue there and risk getting caught up in anything. So yeah, so right now those two are still up in the front right together. So right now third, before the pit cycles obviously, but Eric Schaus right now up into the third position. Still's going to have to make a pit stop here in just a few more laps. Again, he had to short pit a little bit because of that damage he had. But again, still a really good recovery for him. It's curious is going to be see how he cycles out in relation to the leaders here. Because that last time by actually was fastest car on track with a 120.115. So the leaders got held up a little bit there, and that cost him about 2.5 seconds to Eric there. So I'm saying more critically as well, he's quicker than those cars behind him as well. So as long as he can keep doing what he's doing and then not have any more mistakes, I really think Eric can rebound and get back up into that third place once tonight's race is all said and done.
Yeah, probably. I think it's going to be the one thing that's going to make it tough is I think he's going to have to take an extra pit stop compared to everybody else.
Yes, I believe you are correct there. However, we got a good battle going on now for fourth. Max Davies has chased down Chris Jabot. Right now, Chris in fourth, Max in fifth. Again, Max has gone from 20th to 5th so far on this run. So he's not too far behind that number 5 car. So now, again, it's all about minimizing these mistakes. So what Max's goal is going to be the same thing as you can see here. Grab onto the draft of that number 5 car, use it to its full advantage here, and then just maybe try to wait and pounce once the time is right. So we got a good battle here. And then for Chris, he's just got to not look at his mirrors, just focus forward, not worry about that guy behind you, just keep hitting your marks. I mean, that's going to be your best chance for a good result. And I see one driver hitting the pits now. I believe that was the 83 of Jack Walls. So I think Eric Schau's probably got to pit next time by in that 72 car. He's gone about 10 laps since his last pit stop. But you can see, though, Max Davies still trying to chase that number 5 down. They're just within about a half a second of each other. So, yeah, so there's just so much that can happen with these cars, and just minimizing these mistakes is going to be definitely the crucial key to getting a good result tonight.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm Eric Schaus, I'm doing everything I can to get as many laps in before I have to pit as possible, because if he can stretch it enough, he might be able to cut out that one extra pit stop he's going to have to take.
Yeah, it would be tough to say. I think the problem for Eric right now is that he's just all by himself right now. So he has no cars in front of him, so he doesn't have any draft to use and save off of. And again, I would say right now he's got pretty much the same pace as our leaders. They're all in the 120s, 119s. So I say they're definitely going full send right now. So I say unfortunately for Eric, doesn't have the draft to use that to save fuel. And then of course when he does have some draft to use to save, he's going to probably be behind cars that are actually slower than him. Jump back up front to her leaders again and see. I think Matt's going to just have nightmares about that 131 to Craig Forsyth in his mirrors. Let's say he's going to go to sleep and he's going to see that car in his mirrors during the night as well. So just Craig just completely shadowing him. I think this is Craig's best chance to win this race, because if Matt can't save enough to make it on that one less pit stop like we saw, Craig was able to go one extra lap than him that first run. If he can do that again this second run, that's going to be a big bonus for him as well. But then, like you said, the risks too is those in laps, those out laps. Craig's going to have to be really aggressive to try to make sure he doesn't lose any time on those green flag laps where him and the 99 are on different pit cycles.
Yeah, that's correct. And the other thing is, if Matt has to pit at the 10 lap marker again, which would be lap 20, with Craig pitting at lap 11, being able to go 11 laps on a tank, he could go 2 laps more this time and pit on lap 22.
That's exactly right. So it gives Craig some more options than Matt. And I was going to say, and I think what's really happening here is Matt's not really trying to break the toe of Craig to prevent him from passing him. I think Matt's trying to break the toe to prevent Craig from using or saving fuel with that draft behind him. Because there's a couple things Craig could be doing. Obviously, he could be lifting off the gas and saving fuel that way. But the other thing Craig could be doing is he could be running a leaner fuel map where he can still stay in the draft of that car but not use as much fuel. So there's a lot of different things that 131 could be doing behind the wheel. Had to mention Eric Schaus has hit the pits from that third position, so we're going to see where he cycles out. I believe it's going to be right around the 7th or so position. I'll say, because I'm watching to see where he cycles through here. Actually, let's jump over to him as he exits the pits now. And I believe that was Joey Jattina that just swung on by him there. I don't think that was for positions. I believe Eric is still on the lead lap, so it looks like Eric's going to cycle through just in front of Jason Bridges, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, close there between the two of them. I say Jason wants to use that, use his momentum and try to make this pass happen. Eric, of course, knows he does not want to. Let's say so. He's going to have to try to see if he can hold on to the spot. Eric's going to hold on to that position. Definitely going to be crucial. Oh, actually, as I say that, it looks like that 34 jumps off track just a little bit there. So I think that's going to put Eric in the clear, also to prevent him from any counterattack with the draft here. So right now Eric Schaus cycling through in the 6th position. He's got a ways to go to get to Charles Teed, though, about 13 seconds.
Okay. And Eric, he had last pitted at lap 5. He pitted at lap 16 there. So he went only 11 laps.
Which I think 11 might be about the max you can do. So I think 11 is probably realistically about the best you can do here. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, so right now though, Eric able to rebound up into that 6th position now, and let's say actually 6th position. As I see, actually we have AJ Hobson in the pits in the 32 car, and actually I think he may have retired from the event as well. So actually should do that. So unfortunately, we'll go through the list of those that have retired from the event, starting with the, looks like 00 of Don Runkle Jr. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, Steve got caught up in that event, or in that first wreck, even though he thought he was in the clear. Just one guy who unfortunately sounds like tried to get back out on track at the wrong time. Didn't know there was more cars coming probably. Jim Brooks as well, AJ Musselman, Michael Spell, Nicholas Winook. Looks like Corey Lane is pretty much retired. He's still showing in the pits, but he's 14 down. Then you have Logan Helton, Chris Tague, Jared Kaczynski, Gary Corley, and our most recent retiree, I believe, to be that 32 of AJ Hobson.
And the battle up front continues just as it was before. I have to say, these guys are doing amazing. I mean, getting around this track, not making any mistakes, and staying as close as they are together, it's impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean Craig is doing everything he needs to do to try to win this race. Let's say he's using the fuel strategy, using the draft. I mean, right now he's doing everything right, just not making the mistakes that I say. I'm sure right now, kind of in that cockpit, that 99 Matt Wagner is probably just really stressed right now, probably just kind of pulling his hair out. It's like, what can I do to get away from this guy to give myself a chance? Because, like we said with that draft, I mean, he knows Craig is saving fuel on him. He saw that Craig went an extra lap than him. And so I say if Matt can't stretch it that extra lap himself to make it to the end on one less stop, that's going to really put the ball right into Craig's lap there. And actually, I'm going to jump back a little to the thirds. We have a good battle here going on with Max Davies and Chris Jabot. This is for the 3rd position. So Max was able to get around Chris, I believe, through the cycle of pit stops potentially. Max actually pitted one lap later than Chris Jabot. And actually, Max was actually one of the better drivers on field there, Steve. He actually pitted even a lap later than Craig Forsyth. So that 51 car did a really good job on his fuel numbers that first run.
Wow.
So the next thing coming up, of course, is I believe this might be the lap that we'll see Matt Wagner come into the pits. And actually, as I say that, they're coming up on some lap traffic here. I'm saying they're going to be coming up in that, we talked about that little chicane area. This is definitely the treacherous spot, so they have to be extremely cautious here. As soon as I say that, John Brill does loop it in front of him, but they both able to get through clean. Say they're probably a big pucker factor there for those two, able to hang on to it here. So now we're going to watch here. Let's see what Matt Wagner does. Does he duck in this time, or does he stay out an extra lap? Because this could be that crucial thing. Maybe Matt's trying to save a little bit of fuel here to stretch one more lap. So we'll watch. And nope, here he comes. He's going to hit the pit road. So that's going to cycle things over to Craig Forsyth. And like you said, Steve, can he go 2 more laps, or can he just do 1 lap? And this is where Craig, he's got to go full send now. I say he's got to be aggressive. He's going to have to take a little bit of risks here, just to make sure that he doesn't lose that magic 1 second mark to that number 99 of Matt Wagner.
Yep, I'm really curious to see if he goes 1 or 2 laps extra here. My suspicion, knowing Craig, is he's probably going to go the 2 laps.
Yeah, it just depends on where he is on fuel, if this was enough to make it on that number or not. So So we're riding on board with Craig while he's doing this, trying to do everything he can. It's like Chris Jabot hitting the pits as well. So I think Chris is also in the same strategy as Matt Wagner, which is going to leave him probably a lap short on fuel, which is going to put the advantage to Max Davies in that number 51, as well as, say, we're still watching that number 131 of Craig Forsyth. So comes out of that chicane there. He's going to come up to Parabolica here in just a moment. One thing Matt Wagner maybe has going for him now is he's actually right behind the 51 of Max Davies. Max has had pretty good speed, so maybe Matt can save a little bit of fuel off the back of that number 51 car. Let's jump back to our leader, Craig Forsyth. And you are right, Steve. He's going for 2 extra laps here. He's staying out.
Yep, that's going to give him a nice cushion at the end.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So we'll jump back over to Matt Wagner, still right behind that 51 of Max Davies. And this could be a benefit, or it could be a hindrance here for Matt, because he's going to have some draft off this 51 car, but this is still a battle for position, and does not look like Max is just going to give it up here. I think Max may, as I said, almost contact between the two of them there, different braking markers, and it almost ended up in tears there. And sure enough, Max is going to stay out another lap again. He was actually able to go a lap further than Craig the last time by. So actually, this I think is really actually hurting Matt's chances now, because he's going to be losing lap times with that. So we don't have a clean lap there. But actually, as I say that, Craig Forsyth, he ran his fastest lap of the race there, Steve. 1:19.123 was also the fastest lap of the race as well. So when things are counting, Craig is definitely putting that hammer down.
Yep, and that definitely says the fall off isn't going to be an issue. And with Matt having gotten slowed down behind Max Davies, it's very possible that Craig's going to pit here and come out ahead of Matt Wagner.
Actually, that's a really good point. The other question is, how much ahead will he be? Because I think, like you said, with him going these extra laps, as it looks like Craig is in the pits now, could he actually, even without a draft, could he make it to the end? And you see Matt's just kind of moving around a little bit, trying to let Max know he's there and see if he can get around him. But just, again, the momentum that these cars have, is that you're kind of limited by the gearing right now, and that's really hurting Matt at this point. So he's going to be hoping that Max Davies pits this time so he can get some clean air and get after it. But we'll have to wait and see, because, again, I mentioned Max was able to run 1 lap longer than Craig. But the question is, has he been in? I don't think he's been drafting most of this run, so I think he'll duck in this time, and he's kind of angling like he is. And yep, there he goes. He's going to hit the pits. So now, though, here comes Craig Forsyth. He's exited the pits. And now we'll see, can the 99 get to him? Because this could be actually roles reversed right now. If Matt can get close enough to Craig, this could get to that point where he could then do that same drafting game off of him.
Yep, and he may be able to save. He only needs to save, what, an extra lap, right?
I believe probably just a lap would be all he needs to save, but right now he's looks like about cycled through to about 2 seconds off. So yeah, so it's going to be tight. I mean, Matt's going to have to really push hard here. Say he's going to have to abuse his stuff a little bit to get there. And say, looking at Matt's time when didn't lose a ton of time there, Steve. He ran a 1:20.8 on that last lap behind Max Davies. So I mean, it's still a good lap time there. And saying he's gotten just about to that 2 second mark, which I think the magic number with these Indy cars is about 1.5 2 seconds is where you get to that window where the draft really kicks in. So I think that could help that number 99 catch up to that 131 here. Done. I say it's good to see you. I'm glad to see you in the chat, but at the same time, I'm definitely not glad to see you in the chat, because I'd like to still see you on track. I'm really sorry you got caught up in that stuff at the beginning, man. I say you went for a strategy that should have been the safe way to go, but just didn't wind up panning out there for you. So I hate you got caught up in that, man. But I say glad you are joining us here on the broadcast as well, though. It's always appreciate your support with everything.
Yep, I second that.
Alright, we got to jump around a little bit, because I believe, where is Chris Jabot? He looks like he's in a battle here. He is right behind Max Davies. So those two have found each other again on track. So again, and this could be Chris's chance now. He's right behind that number 51 car. So if I'm Chris Jabot, I try to save here. As you see, he's actually not following the draft of the 51. Now he does. If I'm Chris here, I just kind of try to ride off the back wing of this 51 car, save as much fuel as I can during this whole stint here, because that could get you in that window to kind of cut off that one extra stop. Because like we mentioned, say with these guys pitting right around that lap 10-11 mark, that one extra lap could be the make or break.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what you want to do if you're Chris. I'm looking at this through Matt Wagner's cockpit right now, and it looks to me like he's close enough to Craig Forsyth that he's getting a little bit of the draft.
Yeah, so the problem is with the draft is just these cars you're going to see he's going to start topping out pretty soon. You'll watch the lights on top of his dash, and you see now that they're flashing, he's pretty much tacking out now. This is about the fastest that car can go. You see almost running 12,000 RPM there, so he is down to about a second and a half. So with the draft, he's usually the top end of these cars. I think you gain about 3 miles an hour in the draft. One thing Craig could do differently, Steve, is if he wanted to, he could use the push to pass. Because that would then kind of offset that draft that Matt Wagner has at the moment. But I'm thinking at this point, Craig's probably saving that for crunch time with these once we get to these last couple set of pit stops, which I believe will be still 2 more stops. Or actually, no, I think Craig might be on 1 more stop to go once he gets to that window, right?
Let's see.
No, 2 more stops. 2 more stops.
2 more
because we're at
stops.
25. Yeah, he'll have to pit just after 30 and then somewhere after 40. Oh, and this is going to be perfect for Matt Wagner. Craig lost a lot of time there as he got held up behind the 83 of Jack Walls. And say that's just how it goes. You say you catch some of these guys, unfortunately, at the wrong time. And I say, unfortunately, that was the wrong spot for the 131. So now Matt's definitely got the draft he's looking for. And I think we're going to see that the draft breaking game again from Craig Forsyth. You can see he's running all the way down to the bottom there, tries to break the draft. But again, I say Matt's going to be telling him, he's like, hey, 2 can play at this game, man. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing here to you.
Yeah, we've seen this before, just in reverse.
Exactly. Let's say a few driver updates. Yeah, so it does look like AJ Hobson has retired. Unfortunately, it looks like Joey Jatina has retired from the event as well. Like I said, honestly, not that bad of a run for not having any real laps on this track before practice. Like I said, just download the track today along with you there, Steve. So I say props to him. I say definitely gave it his all, and it's really cool to see some of these guys kind of go outside their normal stuff, outside their comfort zone. And I said I've been talking with him. He's been having a lot of fun with these Indy cars. I mean, it's very different, obviously, than the normal stock car racing we do, but it's just so much fun. I enjoy these things as well.
Yeah, they are pretty fun to drive. I don't know if I could be good in these cars or not, because that put people in their cockpit for a sec, Gaio, in Matt Wagner's car.
All right, we are on board with Matt Wagner.
Because I want them to see that stupid bar that goes down the middle. Sometimes you can't see where the car is ahead of you.
Yeah, so this is called the Aero Screen. That's what IndyCar uses. Say in Formula One, they've got the Halo. It's a little different. There's no actual screen in front of it, but they've got the same bar in the front. These have been designed for. We've unfortunately lost some drivers due to having just items hit them coming on track. We've seen one time actually a tire came loose, hit a driver, and unfortunately he passed away from that. We've had some other situations as well with those, but in F1 as well as in IndyCar. Felipe Massa actually, he took I believe it was a piece of suspension, I want to say, to his helmet, and it's like he recovered luckily, and he survived, but I don't think it was the same afterwards. And so these items are just trying to do different things to help these drivers keep them safer. But of course with iRacing, they're going to mimic what is out there in the real world. And so yeah, so you can see you see kind of half of Craig's car, but not the other half. But I'll kind of do a counterpoint on you, Steve. I love using. Oh, Craig, big moment there through the chicane. He had to save it there. Matt had to react to it as well. But I actually use this as kind of as a target, if you will. So it's like, okay, if I've got that car where I can't really see it very well, I know I'm in that draft. So I kind of use it as almost like a way of aiming my car at the draft of the car in front of me.
Which is great for when you're drafting. The problem is when they decide to brake going into return. You can't necessarily see them that well.
Well, that's what they get for braking.
At the wrong point.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that you brake to the wrong point, it's that they brake to the wrong point, right, Steve?
That's correct.
All right, let's jump around the field here a little bit. So we've been focusing on these guys a lot. They've been putting on a great show. Let's say we're going to jump back over to the 72 of Eric Schaus. Looks like Eric just made a pit stop, and he's right now cycled through now up into the 5th position. So again, we talked about how he's been steadily making a gain. And now he's showing only about 15 seconds off of Chris Jabot, Max Davies. So Eric's doing everything he can, like I said, to try to offset that incident he had earlier on when he looped it down that down the chicane, down the backstretch. So good recovery for him. Chris Jabot and Max Davies. Looks like roles are reversed here, Steve. Chris has actually gotten around Max. So now again, Max I think is just going to be using a lot of draft off that number 5 machine here. Saying he is doing it in close proximity there.
I mean, for Chris, let's hope that he was able to save enough fuel so that he doesn't have to take that extra pit stop. I think I would have just stayed behind Max for this whole fuel run.
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, that could be a strategy. Maybe Max went slow enough to where Chris felt like he had to pass him. And unfortunately, we didn't see what happened there for the position change. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of strategy where it's like, you know what? I'm going to let you, go ahead. You look faster than me. Go on by. But actually, as I say that, Max is looks like he's going to send it into the chicane here. Oh, close between contact between the two of them. Oh, Chris catches him as well. So I'll say aggression between the two of them. Looks like it's going to catch both of them out there. It's going to be a huge benefit there for Eric Schaus. He's going to get a ton of time on them from that. Max Davies already back in. Both cars actually back down and away. We'll take a look, see if there's any damage on either of these cars here. So I'm trying to look at Max Davies. Yeah, a little bit of left front. Actually, both wing end plates are damaged on Max Davies' car, so that car is not going to handle as well as it was. Chris Jabot's car, let's take a look. Yeah, left front wing end plate a little bit damaged on his car. However, both drivers are going to stay out. And that's gonna bring that's gonna bring Eric Schaus just that much closer. All right, let's keep going through the field here a little bit though. We've got Charles Teed. I don't know, we've talked about him very much. Charles though in the 6th position. Say that car still looks pretty clean. So hopefully he's had for the most part, uneventful race, I should say. But say he's actually got some of the Marlboro colors on that car fitting for running here at Monza, of course, with Ferrari for so many years running that bright red paint scheme. With unfortunately now the rules don't allow for that sponsorship on the car itself anymore. Then Jason Bridges here in the 7th position, that 34 car. Charles Johnson, again, he was in that first lap incident. He's recovered all the way to 8th, so hats off to Charles for sticking with it, having a kind of recovering well here. David Leclerc in the 9th position. So I believe David is also caught up in that one. He's recovered very nicely as well. And then we've got the 77 of Benjamin Combs. Again, I believe Eric Morgan was watching this one as well. So right now, Benjamin is in the top 10, still started 22nd, one of our highest climbers, along with Max Davies from 22nd up into 10th. So a great job by him as well so far. All right, let's jump. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
I've gone through the accident between Chris Jabot and Max Davies a number of times now, and it looks to me like there was net code between the two of them. So that's
yeah, net code's always one to spoil things a little bit. It looks like Max is hurting a little bit more than Chris though, because Chris has gotten back around Max, and looking at lap times, Chris actually his lap times aren't too bad. He's still running 121s. Let's say Max was down to a 124, so I think that car might be just suffering a little bit, or possibly maybe Max felt like that incident was his fault, so he decided to fall back behind the 5 car. So just an unfortunate contact between the two of them. I'd say may have been one of those things, again, drivers kind of going for the same place, real estate on track, but like you and I were saying too, I mean, I don't know what Chris's fuel window's looking like right now, but that was kind of where I was thinking that'd be a good opportunity for him to try to see if he could save a little bit extra just to be safe. But what I suspect we'll see, though, with these two cars, I believe they're both going to have about an extra 5 seconds on their pit stop to get that front wing replaced, and that's going to bring it right into the hands of Eric Schaus. But that being said, they don't need to look too far behind because he is there.
Well, you know what? If they fall a lap down, they won't have to go that extra lap.
And actually, as I said, here comes Chris Jabot. He's going to hit the pits now. And I believe that was about 10 laps on that run. So, yeah, I'm wondering if maybe he's kind of thinking about that, where it's like, if I get lapped, I'm not going to have to run that extra lap anyway. So the next question is going to be the 99 Matt Wagner. Is he going to hit the pits this time? He is, but he's going to have a car hitting the pits in front of him as well. I believe that was the 27 of Charles Teed. And so I'm sure Matt was hoping to go full send on that pit entry. So he's going to hit the pits here with 20 to go. And I think with that, Steve, I think that kind of tells us, I think Matt can still actually make it here on 2 more stops as well. or actually one more stop from here, I should say. So he'll be able to pit on lap 40 or 41 and make it to the end, I believe.
Okay, so Matt went one extra lap that time.
Matt was able to save there. So now again, we'll watch Craig Forsyth because I think this is going to be full send time for that number 131 car. So we'll hop on board with him again. We'll watch him kind of do his magic here. But yeah, I mean, Craig has definitely been running a really good race. But again, it's just there's so many things that can go wrong. You just got to make sure that you just do everything right. And when you do get these opportunities where you kind of have to push it that little extra bit, it's so easy to kind of jump that cushion and just have this track bite you.
And in some ways, it's a little bit more difficult when you end up being the driver that's leading. You're out there by yourself, and you just know that you have to go as fast as you can, but you don't have that other guy there to kind of judge how fast you should be going. And here comes Craig into the pits.
Oh, and he's not happy. He's going to have the same issue. Actually, you see, got that car in front of him. I believe that is James Ledford. So again, Craig was hoping to get a full send pit entry there as well, but had to make sure he slowed up not to get into the back of the 48 machine. So that could cost him a little bit of time. So that means we'll see. That could actually offset what had just happened to the 99 of Matt Wagner. So say we see Matt here actually getting around the 90 of John Brill. So again, now it's going to be all about their pit stops and say, do a pit stop update. Matt Wagner had a 8.1 second pit stop. Craig Forsyth a 7.2 pit stop. So we'll see as he actually hits the pit exit now. And I think actually, based on where they are on track, I think Craig has definitely made a big advantage here. We're going to let everything cycle through, but I'm seeing Craig as having about a 5-second lead over Matt Wagner now after that last pit stop cycle.
Yeah, and if it's that big a lead, it's going to be hard to make that up, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is where Matt's now. I mean, we know Matt's quick. Obviously, Craig is quick as well, but it's a risk versus reward here now. So Matt can go kind of caution to the wind. Right now, Craig's our points leader, so he's got to be careful not to overdrive that thing, not make any mistakes. So it could get really interesting in these final laps between the two of these drivers here. Right now, Craig, like I said, still holding steady about now 4.5 or so seconds. Actually coming up on some traffic there. Drivers that had issues through the bus up. Craig almost wrecks it coming off that chicane there. That's going to open the door. That's exactly what Matt Wagner needed to see. So now you're going to see that lead. It's going to go from that 4.5 seconds down to a second and a half. So that one little moment there that just completely got rid of that lead that Craig Forsyth was going to be enjoying there.
Yeah, and that's the big mistake you were talking about right there, because that puts Matt Wagner close enough to start getting the draft now. So this is now going to be a race to the finish.
Yeah, so they're still going to have one more pit stop to make it to the end. I believe both are actually on the same cycle where they can both make it on one more stop, I think. And so sure enough, there goes Craig. He's going to get around, I believe that was the 83 of Jack Walls. But now, like you said, Matt Wagner, though, he is within a second of him. And also that lap time, I'm waiting to see. Oh, that's still their pit stop time, so that wasn't 100% accurate. And also with all the pit stops cycling out, right now Eric Schau's still showing in the third position after the pit stop cycle, but you can see he's about 40 seconds or so in front of Chris Chabot. So in my opinion, I think Eric's going to be able to cycle through back in front of that number 5 car. So I think Eric might be holding pretty steady here in that third position. However, we talked about he still may need to make one extra stop on that car as well, because I don't know if he can make it to the end when he needs to make his last stop here. I think he might have maybe he has to take a splash or something like that, possibly.
Yeah, he's going to have, yes. There's no way he's going to make it to the end. So he last pitted at lap 26. That was 10 laps after his pit before that. So I'm pretty sure he's going to have to pit at lap 36 and then lap 46 again.
And look who's breaking the draft again. He saw Craig Forsyth moving around, trying to keep that keep the 99, I should say, away from him. Again, just trying to break the draft that they can. So he's actually got the lead back up to just about a second. So, but again, unfortunately, we don't know who's been on the push to pass or how many they've used. So only they know who has what. Well, actually, I should say they only know what they have. They have no idea what the other guys around them have. But what I was talking about, Steve, though, is this is where that strategy of possibly saving those push to passes, that's where that could come into play as well. because what Craig can do is he can use those push to passes, and when he's at top speed and using it, he's running about the exact same speed as Matt Wagner, even in the draft. So that's going to be, I think, his best defense option against that number 99 car coming down to these final laps. So say, of course, that's all dependent on where they come out in relation to each other after their last pit stop, which at this rate is going to probably be in around 7 or so more laps.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be major as to which one of them comes out in front of the other.
Yeah, I think that could wind up being the difference between the two. And of course, it's also going to be critical, just them having a clean pit entry, clean pit exit. As we saw, both of them actually had a little bit of interference on their pit entry lap. So that might be something that we'll see from these drivers, is they'll notice like, hey, there's a car in front of me that's going to be pitting. If I can go an extra lap, I will. I think Craig will have the benefit of the doubt on that one. He could probably choose when he needs to pit. Whereas Matt Wagner, I think he's going to have to stretch this thing dry, and so he's just going to have to hope that he's got clean traffic in front of him.
So we've got five cars on the lead lap right now.
Yes, right now we got the top 5 are that 131 of Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner second, Eric Schaus in third. Again, probably going to have to I think Eric's going to have to pit this time, which would put him at 15 to go. And like I said, there's no way you're going 15 laps. So what Eric could do is pit here, and then the next time he has to pit is just take a splash of fuel. Actually, what I would lean towards if I'm that 72 car, we've seen the tire fall off, hasn't been too bad. Maybe just get that tank, kind of start getting it low again, and then pit with about 5 to go, just to get that remaining bit that you're going to need to get to the end. Because you kind of have the option, of course, Steve, is to fill up as soon as you're in the window or to fill up at the end. So I think it maybe just depends on where you are on track. Oh, actually, as I say that, John Brill loops it around in front of Eric Schaus, gave him a little bit of a heart attack, I'm sure. We'll jump back a little bit. Chris Jabot is in the 4th position, started in 6th. I say Chris as well, I believe, is going to still be on track here to make it on one more stop to the end. And behind him, Max Davies, as we had mentioned, those two have been having a really big battle earlier in the race, kind of together most of this race as well. And actually, as I said, yep, Eric hits the pits there from that 3rd spot. And so Max as well started 20th up to 5th and is about 5 seconds off of that 5 of Chris Jabot.
And it looks like Eric went, well, let's see, I'm showing him lap 36 for his pit. So yeah, he went 10 laps again.
Yeah, I think this was starting lap 11 there. So what I want to see, though, is where does he come out again? I think he'll get out in front of the 5 of Chris Jabot, but the question is going to be how much in front, because, again, that's going to be a big playing factor on that last stop. Could he still grab that 3rd position or not?
Yep.
And we got to go back in front because that lead is down to under half a second. So Matt's going to be trying to hassle that 131 all he can. And the other thing, again, too, is Matt's going to be able to save a little bit extra fuel again this run. Maybe that could get Matt to go that one extra lap or so. Or maybe then he also has the option of changing his fuel up a little bit. And the other thing, too, Steve, is they can take... We talked about how the weight of these cars are so critical. You might want to take a little bit less fuel here on this final stop. And do they risk the I just have this crazy idea of what about taking fuel only, because I feel like you're waiting for tires. So do you try a fuel only stop at the very end here to try to get a slightly quicker pit stop if you don't have to fill the tank full to try to get that, maybe that, again, I mean, let's say you gain a second, that could be enough to bring you from that 2-second mark to maybe a 3-second mark through the pit stop cycle.
Maybe, I don't know. I can see Eric doing that because he's going to have a lot less laps left. But for Craig Forsyth and Matt Wagner, you know, you're still so close to the 10 laps to go. Both of them are going to have to push it so hard to fight each other. I just don't see them cutting the fuel.
Yeah, it's really all dependent on about the tire fall off. And I mean, I'm looking at their lap times though. I mean, they're still running in the 119s, which I say they're running maybe. Actually, last time by was actually Matt Wagner's best lap of the race, which was only about a 10th off of Craig's. So I mean, again, Matt's got the benefit of the draft right now, but he's also, I mean, he's still got to make these cars turn through the, make the car actually handle through the turns. You see Craig there stealing the draft off that 51 of Max Davies, trying to get everything he can to kind of help his chance against Matt Wagner here. So Yeah, these guys having a awesome fight between the two of them right now as we have 13 to go.
Okay, and also I would note that Eric Schaus did come out of the pit ahead of Chris Jabot. They each have to make one more pit stop, and Eric's got about 6 seconds on him. So you may be right. Eric may be able to bring this home third.
Yeah, I'll say the only thing is he's going to have to keep building that gap, though, because, again, I mean, I'm not sure what the pit stop delta would be for the pit stop time plus, of course, the entry and exit. But I could easily see it being maybe 10, 15 seconds at least. So it's going to take a lot, I think, for Eric to get this third position. He's going to have to work hard. And as you well know, Steve, I mean, he's going to be going for all he's worth because he wants to talk to us. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't think there's anything better than having a race where you get to talk to us at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, we kind of shun Chris when we're not here. So, we usually don't talk to him. So, this is his only chance.
That's true. I mean, yeah, so we're kind of the popular kids at high school that ignore the other guys. So no, I'm just kidding.
Right.
We have fun. But yeah, it's going to be a close fight between the two of them because I mean, Eric is, I believe, a little quicker, but actually, as I say that though, he was only 0.3 of a second quicker than Chris that last time by. So he's going to need to go a little more aggressive to be able to try to stretch that gap on that number 5 machine. So. It's going to be interesting, I say, and we're just about to that magic number here, Steve. We have 12 to go. It's going to be 11 to go at the line. So I think not this time, but I think next time by, that's going to be the pay window is going to open to make that final stop.
Let's see. Yep, we're at 39.
Yes, I was saying this is also, I mean, this is not an easy race, and I'm saying 51 laps. I say it's going to be roughly. I don't think I have a ticker on my thing that says how long we've been going, but I want to say this has been it's going to be roughly, I think, an hour 15 minutes. So you think there's no cautions, so you don't get to really. I mean, you did get to relax down the straightaways and such like that, but at the same time, you're probably playing with some of your dials and making sure you've got everything what you need to make it to the end. And actually, to say that Craig's again been able to bring that gap out to about a second now over Matt Wagner. But I'll say that's the other thing too is just you got to make sure that you're still focused, that there's no mistakes. I'll say obviously they don't have the same kind of fatigue that the pro drivers do in the actual cars with the G-forces, the heat, and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, we both come out of these races where we're like, yeah, we need a shower.
Yep, I definitely had those.
I definitely feel like this is one. Go ahead.
So here's what I see happening. Craig Forsyth last pitted at lap 32. Matt Wagner pitted at lap 31, but he's running behind, saving some fuel. I think that Craig will probably go to lap 43 this time. Matt will maybe try and stretch it that far, but I think he'll probably pit a lap sooner. It's possible for both of them, with 2 laps cut off and 3 laps cut off, that they might be able to take a little bit less fuel and make their pit stop faster.
Yeah, I'm curious to say we're going to be coming right here. It's going to be 10 to go here at the line. So do either of them duck in once? Like I said, I think the window's open now. And nope, they both stay out. So I think Matt's actually able to save that extra lap that we were talking about. That might be why he's falling off just a little bit off of that 131, is just making sure he has enough, doesn't risk sputtering it. And that way he knows both of them can easily make it to the end. And that's where I was thinking, Steve, is like, I think if you're Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner is going to probably have to fill it up to make it to the end, where you probably have a little bit still in reserve. I just wonder, again, I think you're with these drivers running the reduced fuel load, I feel like there is the potential of you having, of waiting on the tires. I don't know if it's going to be a second, 2 seconds, or what the difference would be. But it's just so tempting to me because it just does not seem like there's a lot of tire fall off with these cars right now. But nobody's done it, so it's a risky gamble.
I bet you they both pit here.
I think you're the same. I think they're going to both pit this time, but look what's coming up in front of Craig Forsyth. He's got 2 lap cars in front of him. Oh, has to go around the outside of James Ledford there. James was trying to make the exit there, just had to be careful. But now they're going to be coming up on one more driver. I believe that's John Brill. And Craig's not sure where he needs to go. Has to take evasive action. We'll see if Matt Wagner, Matt Wagner lost a lot of time behind him as well. So this is actually going to hurt Matt Wagner because now he's lost a little bit of time on the pit entry. And like you said, they both come in together. Matt, though, gains a lot of time on the pit entry. He got aggressive in there. So we're going to have a pit stop race here between the two of them. And these are our first and second qualifiers. So Matt's going to be coming around the 131 here of Craig Forsyth to hit the pits. So now it's just going to be about how well they hit the pits. As I said, too, just to add to that, here comes the 50 coming out as they're just going through everything right here.
This is going to be intense.
And okay, no, I didn't think I saw. Oh, it's going to be tight between them. So Craig is going to get out with the lead, but I think Matt Wagner is still going to be in distance to be able to chase that gap back down. So now it's just going to be pretty much a dash to the finish between the two of them. So we'll let everything cycle out, see what the gap is going to be. I'm sure both these drivers, I'm thinking here's a good place to use the push to pass to get up to speed as fast as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, we don't get to see it, but I have a feeling that's probably what we would suspect to see. So say Craig is doing what he needs to do. So you can see his outlap here. I mean, he's got it down up to about 1.5 seconds. Again, that magic number probably is about 2.5 seconds. So I think right now Matt's still able to get some draft on him. And this is where you start thinking about the push to pass here, Steve. I don't know how many you have left, but if you use one maybe every time down the straightaway, let's say you have the 10 left, you're going to have 10 laps to go, and if you use that push to pass down the straightaway, and then you're going that same speed as Matt with the draft, that could be enough to kind of offset that draft difference.
Yeah, I think I might use it just to get myself caught up, and then kind of play cat and mouse, stay in the draft, and until I'm ready to start to try and make the pass, and then start using the push to pass pretty seriously.
Yeah, it's going to be curious to see. And the other thing, though, actually, as I say that, though, is lap traffic. There's 3 cars in front of Craig Forsyth, so he's going to have to deal with them as well. I say before things come out, looks like it's going to be the 77, the 5, and the 50. Right now, Chris Drubo is our last car in the lead lap. He's in the mix. He's made his last pit stop, so he's good to go to the end. Eric Schaus, as we mentioned, is showing in the 3rd position. And again, Eric's got to pit one more time, but I think something may have happened to Chris because I think the gap that Eric has over Chris, I think he's going to easily I think Eric's going to be able to hold on to that 3rd position.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, Eric may not even take tires on this last stop. He may just, like you were saying, I don't know if I call it a splash because it's still 4 laps worth of fuel, but he's going to need a lot less fuel than what Chris just had to take.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Say Craig's doing everything he can. You see the gap's holding pretty steady, about 1.5 seconds right now over the two of them. But, as I said, that Craig misses the chicane. He's going to have to cut the track a little bit, which is going to probably give him a slowdown. And this is going to put it right into the hands of Matt Wagner because he's going to come out of this turn with a huge head of steam. He's going to jump to the outside. But the other question is, does Craig have any damage to his end plate? Did he hit one of those turtles or not? Car looks clean, though, so we're going to keep racing. He's going to send it into the parabolica, try to keep Matt behind him. But Matt's not going to give up easily. They're going to fight on the exit, and we're going to be side by side here through the front stretch.
Which, this will work fine till they get to that little kink.
I say what both these drivers are going to be doing now is they're going to be fighting for that draft of the 77 of Benjamin Combs. Both of them are like, no, come to my lane. No, go to my lane. But you're right, though. Now there's going to be the risk of the side-by-side through this little chicane here coming up in just a moment. So I feel like someone's going to have to give. Otherwise, I have a feeling this is going to end in tears. And it looks like Craig gave maybe just a little bit. As we mentioned also the risk versus reward. Because, again, Craig's our points leader here. He doesn't want to throw away a good finish regardless of if it's for the win.
Yep. Definitely. So he may actually be a little bit more conservative here, but I still see him trying to make the pass at some point.
Oh, yeah, no. Craig's not going to give up. There's no question there. Now it's just about trying to figure out where to make them. But again, we don't know who has what left on the push to passes. Oh, actually, we have oh my goodness, he saw the 50 car of David Leclerc had a moment there through the chicane. They're able to get by him. He also getting around the 77 of Benjamin Combs. He saw Benjamin, just went ahead and got out of the way. And now you see Matt again. Craig. He's jumped to the inside. He's got the inside line through the parabolica. Can he make the power stick? Can he get it down in time and clear the 99 of Matt Wagner? It looks like he's got it done. But now here's going to be the draft for the 99 car. So Craig's going to protect the inside line. And what can they do? Does Craig use the push to pass here, Steve, to try to block that draft?
I think I probably would.
I think he is, because you can see Matt's right. He's already on the limiter here, and Craig is actually holding pretty steady. So I think Craig definitely used the push to pass there to protect that lead position again. And that's where I was talking about. That could be where you use it defensively. So we have 6 to go. Next time by, it's going to be 5 laps remaining. And I mean, at this point, there's still a lot of time left. And 6 laps here is a lot. And there's a lot of opportunities for mistakes to be made.
And I'm sure Craig is thinking, I hope I've used up all my mistakes for this race, because he's made a couple costly ones.
Yeah, he's had a few little bobbles here. So, I mean, right now I'm looking up ahead of them on track. The next car they would have to catch is Chris Jabot. Chris is running pretty similar laps than them, honestly. He's running in the 120s as well. So, I mean, he's got some pretty good lap times. So I say he was actually the fastest car on track that last time around. So, I mean, he's not like he's just putting around there. So, I mean, but again, knowing Chris, though, he's going to be smart. If they get to him, I think he's going to try to roll up and not be an outcome in the race. But at the same time, too, he's got to try, just in case you never actually, you know what, now that I'm looking at where Eric Schaus is in relation, yeah, Eric Schaus is definitely going to be able to hang on to that 3rd position after his pit stop cycle. So, and Eric's on lap 10 now, so I think we'll see the 72 hit the pits here. But I think that will keep Eric in that 3rd position.
Yeah, that's what I see happening, too.
All right, so we're still watching this battle here for the lead, for the win. And like I mentioned, we have now 5 to go. Eric has hit the pits here from that 3rd spot, and so should be able to solidly hold on to that 3rd position. Again, a great recovery for him to bounce back after that early contact, or early spin, I should say, and the little chicane there down the back. So, but right now I say we're going to probably be focused on this to the rest of the way there. So, if you're a fan of the other drivers, I apologize, but this has been an awesome battle here for the win.
Definitely, and something I want to stress to people that haven't done road racing, to have 2 cars stay this close for an entire race is just incredible. And this is the 2nd time that we've seen this at a road course in this league.
Yeah, and honestly, if it wasn't for that little mistake that Eric made that kind of put him out of contention with the extra pit stop, I think we would see all 3 of these drivers still running for this win here. So I'm sure they're glad it's just the 2 of them, but I'm sure they're both also kind of just hating the fact that they have to fight this hard, but probably at the same time also, I think, really loving this fight too. So the hope, of course, is that they keep it clean to the end here. So I'd love to see a good, clean finish the rest of this race, because they've put on an awesome race with each other, racing hard, but racing fair and racing clean.
Yeah, definitely. You were talking about how Craig Forsyth is probably on a little more conservative mindset because he's leading the points, and Matt Wagner kind of started. He wasn't here at the beginning of the season, so he's not up at the top of the points like he might be for as well as he's been running. Last week, Matt Wagner led a whole lot of the race and ended up getting beat by Craig Forsyth at the end. And so I'm sure that's going through his head right now, that he really wants his win.
Yeah, and you see they're coming up on Chris Jabot. You see Chris staying over to the right, letting these leaders go on by. So again, hats off to Chris. So he knows what's at stake, and saying that's just, again, a great courteous move by Chris. So again, I'm sure leaders really appreciate that. Let him have this battle for the win. And saying that's what you do, is that's what you really want to do. And I'm saying right now these leaders have about a full straightaway distance between the next drivers, one of which is Eric Schaus, the other is the 9 of Charles Johnson. But you can see, I mean, Eric's probably got about 20 seconds on him. So right now I think this is the battle. And saying, actually, Matt made a big move there, had to back out of it a little bit, and so that's going to give Craig just a tiny bit of breathing room here as we have 3 to go.
I wonder if Matt Wagner is kind of sizing him up right now, trying to figure out where he wants to try and do the pass, because he gained a lot of time on Craig Forsyth down that straightaway, and maybe he didn't plan on catching him that quickly.
Yeah, I think it's going to really come down to who has how many push to passes left and where you want to use them. If I have 2 push to passes, I'm saving them for the last lap, and I have 2 places I'm going to use them. The first is going to be right here coming after this chicane. I want to use that push to pass to get right up to the back bumper, or back wing, I should say, of Craig Forsyth, to hopefully get side by side with him entering this parabolica, this final turn here at Monza. And of course the last, as soon as you get on the throttle, you got to hit that button, give you as much extra power as possible, because that's going to be, I think, your best chance to try to beat him to the line, because you'll see here, start finish line, it's not all the way down the straightaway, it's not too far away. I believe it was right there, we just passed it. So I think that's going to be the critical thing too, is you got to get on the power as quick as possible, because you don't get to use the draft coming to the white flag, or sorry, coming to the checker flag. It's a pretty quick dash from that last turn to the flag.
Yep. Plus, he's going to have one more push to pass save, because he'll probably need it when he tries to pass.
Yeah, and saying again, we don't know how many Matt has, we don't know how many Craig has. So I mean, it's really it's a cat and mouse game. And say they don't know how much either of them have as well. So it's going to be a really good fight between the two of them. And say again, regardless of the outcome, just hats off to these two. They've put on an outstanding race time. It's been a lot of fun. Again, I hate the beginning of the race for a lot of those drivers that got caught up in that initial incident. I'm sure a lot of them, of course, really frustrated with that one, probably not very happy with the track. But that being said, I mean, mistakes happen, and that's part of racing. And I think if they were able to stay on track and kind of be part of these races, be part of this racing that we're seeing here, they'd be right in that same boat, enjoying what we're seeing here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Steve. So we're about to see what these drivers have left. Let's say we'll see if Matt's been kind of playing possum, if you will, here as we're going to come across the line here. 1 lap to go. So can Craig hold on to lead over Matt Wagner? As say we'll see. Craig might, again, he could use a push to pass here. You see he's already trying to break the draft. So we'll see if the gap closes or not. If it does close, then we know Craig's not on the button. And if it holds pretty steady, we know that he is on the button. So right now it's holding pretty steady, so I'm thinking Craig was probably using the button. I think it just ran out though, because you can see Matt's closing the gap again here as they enter. They're going to start entering the first 2 Lesmo turns here. Lesmo 1, the first right-hander, and then Lesmo 2, the second right-hander. So Craig got a really good exit out of that first one. That's gave him a little bit of breathing space. This one's critical to get the power down. Both looked pretty even there, so again, we don't know. I wish we could see the push to passes, so we could see who was on it when. But like I say, I see Craig pulling a little bit of a gap here, so I think Craig was on the button there. As this is the treacherous turn here, that chicane down the back, and so far both navigating it perfectly. And I don't know, Steve, I think Craig is getting just enough gap here to protect himself from an attack.
Yeah, I think if I was Matt Wagner, I'd want to be a lot closer than I am right now. I don't think there's a chance, unfortunately.
Say Craig's going to have to send a DVC. Matt sent it as deep as he possibly could. Got into the dirt a little bit, so I think that's going to give Craig all the breathing room he needs. Craig Force is celebrating across the line there. Gets the win here at Monza. Matt Wagner going to bring it home in second. I'm sure not going to be happy with the result, but again, hats off to him. An awesome race between the two of them. So we got a little ways to go, though, to wait for our 3rd place finisher, because he's our last car on the lead lap. So hopefully, Rachel, hopefully you're still around, because we'll take a lap here with the 72 of Eric Schaus, because we haven't got a lot of time to talk about him while we're watching this fight up front. So let's say we'll jump on board with our, with this number 72 of Eric Schaus, as he's coming around for his final lap of tonight's event. Say drivers that were a lap down have completed their final laps. So Chris Jabot is going to be scored in the 4th position. So great job by Chris. Max Davies just crossed the line to finish in the 5th position. So again, also a great run by him. As Eric Schaus here comes off the final turn. Eric going to again recover from that earlier spin. Going to grab a 3rd place result. And of course, more importantly, gets to have a chat with us. So say he doesn't care about the points. He just wants to have an interview with myself and Steve. So again, great run to all of our drivers here. We'll jump back over to our race winner here, that number 131 of Craig Forsyth. Getting the win tonight at Monza. What a race, Steve. That was an exciting one with these guys. They put on an awesome show.
Yeah, they did. That was extremely exciting and great driving and great strategy by both of them.
All right, so while we watch Craig celebrate here on the front stretch, we're going to go ahead and start hunting down our drivers. So give us just a moment, and we'll get things pulled up here. All right, so we're actually going to go a little out of order here. We're going to start with our second place finisher of Matt Wagner, saying Steve's going to have a chat with him here.
Hey, Matt, that's a hell of a show that you and Craig Forsyth put on.
God, you ought to believe, man. That was we were very tedious. We were looking for each other in that race. We both didn't want to crash, and just hopefully make it a good show for everybody to see.
Yeah, you guys did. You know, and my mind went back to last week because you led a lot of that race last week and probably ran well enough that you should have won it. But Craig managed to get that win last week. And I was trying to think, you know, what's going through your head tonight because Gael pointed out that Craig's, you know, probably thinking more about the points and you're not having to worry about points. So I'm thinking, you know, Matt's like, it's so close last week. I got to get this. So what was going through your head?
Well, I had about 3 push passes left, and he was getting a nice run off of the S's, and he was beating me every time. And I was getting a pair. What is that turn called? What is it?
Parabolic with the last one? Oh, yeah, Lesmo 1.
Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. Yep. And I was beating him there, and he was beating me off the S's. And going through my mind, I got to get a run off the S's. I got to nail it. I didn't nail it. And I tried to use the push to pass in the final corner and just overshot it. Went in dang sand. No!
Well, it was a hell of a lot of fun to watch that between you two guys. Is there anybody that you'd like to give shout outs or thanks to?
I can thank Craig Forsyth for winning the race. You know, it was a good race. And shout out to those who let me pass. And I give you well respects. And thank you, Gael, for being an awesome announcer.
I only do as much as I can only be as good as Steve next to me, so that's all thanks to him.
Yeah, I prop him up.
Hey, did you guys happen to see the pit stops that went on and the trouble I had getting on and off pit road?
We did.
We saw a couple. I don't know if we saw all of them, but yeah, there was a couple stops where I don't know if it was the last. No, it wasn't the last stop. It was the one before it. You got caught up on your pit entry where I know you were sailing in there, and then actually the next lap around, Craig also sent it in there, and it's like he had a car right in front of him as well. So I think that one may have washed out a little bit, but yeah, there was definitely I could see you guys didn't get to maximize what you're aiming to have there.
Yeah, in the pit out between Charles Teed and oh my god, I lost like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was an exciting one. I say you guys, like Steve said, you guys put on an awesome show. It was so much fun to be a part of. So I was a little jealous. I got to race with you last night. I was hoping, I say that just made me want to race with you even more. But you guys did an awesome job this evening. So, so it's like just hats off to you guys. It was a great run, and yeah, say great run. And like Steve said, I say it won't take many more races. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you here shortly in Victory Lane.
Yeah, I think definitely.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, take it easy, Matt.
Hey, you too, buddy.
All right, so that's Matt Wagner in the number 99 machine. Let's jump over to that number 72 of Eric Schaus now. Let me jump back here. There we are. All right, I'll pull Eric Schaus in here. Eric, you were one of those top 3 that broke away early on. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a hiccup there through. That was kind of the trouble turn. That little, I don't know what you want to call it, the S's there in the backstretch. But able to get the repair done, bounce back, and bring it all the way back up into 3rd. So I mean, obviously, I'm sure not the outcome you wanted to have, but still, I mean, recovery wise and points position wise for the championship, that was a great drive for you.
Yeah, it would have been nice to race with Craig and Matt up front. Unfortunately, we had a new setup at the beginning of this race, so it was one I hadn't practiced on, and I was pushing it a little bit too hard there through a scurry, and that just led to a spin. Led to 2 back-to-back spins, and then in the second spin, I damaged my wing, so I had to go in for a pit early, which meant I actually needed an extra pit stop over everybody else. So from there, it was just damage mitigation and trying to get about 35 seconds ahead of the guy behind me, since that was about what it takes to get a pit window in. And you know, I did all right there. I managed to make it make it for third. So not unhappy, not happy. I'll take it though.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. It's kind of a I forgot the word for it now. It's like yeah, you're kind of like okay, that was a good recovery, but it's like if that hadn't happened, kind of a thing.
Yeah, there was no chance of me catching those guys up front unless they made a mistake as well. I mean, they were just as fast as me, if not faster, especially when they were running in a pack together. So really, it was just damage mitigation. It was just making sure I didn't make any more mistakes, try and put down better lap times than everybody else, just to kind of eke out a little bit of space so that when I had to do that extra pit stop, I could do it clearly.
And you probably actually could speak really well to this. Obviously, you had a lot of track, like you said, with the different pit cycle. You're kind of off on your own a good chunk of the race. I mean, how difficult was it to kind of lap by lap? I mean, again, I say there's a lot of obviously this track where your foot's to the floor, but then you got to go from about 185, 190 or so down to third gear and hit your braking points, hit your kind of your inching mark. How hard was it to like nail those spots, those points, and hit the turns every time, lap after lap there?
Yeah, Monza can be a pretty tricky course. Fortunately, I've got a little bit more experience on it doing GTE races, and they run the chicane, so I'm used to having to go from full speed down to about 20 miles an hour for that first chicane. So what we were running actually wasn't as bad. I still struggled a little bit with turn 5, I think it was, the right-hander. Lesmo 2, maybe, I think it is.
Yep.
For whatever reason, I couldn't hit that right, especially with the new setup. I was afraid of spinning it in that corner. That's when you kind of have to chuck the car in there and hope it sticks. And if you put too much throttle, it just spins it. So it's a bit of a finesse corner. And with the new setup, I wasn't able to really get any confidence in that corner. But otherwise, I felt okay through just about everything else.
Yeah, actually, I think you bring up a good point. Steve and I were talking about as well as how long did it take you to train your brain not to be braking for that first chicane up front, and then of course that second one as you kind of after you pass the sweeping right hander and get to that next one where you kind of go full send through there. How long did it take you to kind of unlearn that from your brain?
Oh man, I know that when I was practicing, I was for as many laps as I've done on Monza, I was getting lost because I didn't have the chicanes as reference. I couldn't remember if I was on the back straight, the front straight. It definitely took a good 10 laps or so to completely get that out of my head. And then even so, every once in a while, I'll see a 100 meter braking board, and I'll be like, oh man, I got to take a left here. And no, it's just full speed through that. So it definitely tripped me up a couple times. I don't think it slowed me down at all, but it was a bit of a mind game.
Yeah, Eric, Steve can attest for that. I was going to say.
Yeah, I was talking about that before the race because I just bought this track a few days ago and didn't run a lap until when you guys were in practice. And the first time I went in there, I saw the 100 mark, and I was like, I guess I got to slow down. And then since I was in the watch mode, you guys would go through me, and I would see you guys go flying by. I'm like, why are they doing that?
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times. It'll be one of those things. I'll see it. I'm like, all right, I got to turn left. No, wait a minute. Is this the one I turn left? Nope, this isn't the one. Yep. So it's a little bit of back and forth.
And those grass strips, oh my God, those play such mind games with you.
Yeah. I like this course a lot. I'd like to do the chicanes next time, but I understand that's a little bit trickier, especially in these cars where you can't run over the curbs the way you can in the GTE cars. So maybe it makes more sense to just run the no chicane one. But either way, I like Monza. It's a fun track.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, that was so yeah, you about capped off for me, Steve. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Say, unfortunately, there was a pretty big incident there at the beginning. It's like I'm sure took a lot of contenders out, which maybe kind of probably sours their feelings towards the race. But I say once things got settled and it was a lot of fun to be a part of, a lot of fun to watch. So you guys put on an awesome show. So definitely want to give you the opportunity to hear Eric, any thanks shouts you'd like to give for that third place run tonight.
Yeah, thanks to my wife for watching. Thanks to my father-in-law who was in the Discord with me, keeping me company and helping me out with the fuel strategy. Thanks to you guys at Green White Checkered TV, and thanks to Area 51 for a good race. And congrats to Craig and Matt. They did a great job. It's not easy to run an entire race like that clean, so well done to them.
Yeah, it was a fun one to watch, and like I said, again, great recovery. I said it's definitely going to keep you definitely keep you in the points contention as well as right now. I think you and Craig are kind of the two sneaking away with it a little bit, which say kind of got season 5 repeat going on kind of the way I'm seeing it here between you two, kind of sneaking away from the rest of the field there.
Yeah, great job coming back up to third, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was rooting for Matt there. Craig's already ahead of me in points. I don't need Craig with any more points, but good on him for the win.
All right, so that is our third place finisher there, Eric Schatz. Like I said, we're jumping a little bit out of order there, so we'll jump over now to our race winner, that number 131 of Craig Forsyth. Say Craig was definitely doing everything he needed to do. Say probably kind of pestering that 99 Matt Wagner those first couple runs, just using all the draft he was able to. Say stealing probably maybe an extra lap or two. Say on those first 2 runs. Did that come into play for you, Craig, to try to get a little bit of extra there, to feel comfortable not having to make an extra pit stop, or is it just everything you could do to kind of hang on to the back of that number 99 car as well?
Oh no, it was my plan. I mean, I knew you had to have at least one stint where you saved an extra lap of fuel to make sure that you made 11 laps, since it was a 51 lap race. And after the first one, I decided I'd do it. I'd just sit back there and do it again. And I really should have just kept doing it. I think after the second pit stop, I came out ahead and decided to stay ahead, and it sort of screwed it up, because if I'd gone back behind Matt again, he would have been stuck doing a 10 lap stint again, and really would have been pressed on when he was going to do his fuel save stint. And instead, I made it relatively easy for him to decide to do a fuel save stint.
Well, Steve and I are appreciative of how you did it, because you guys put on an awesome show. Let's say that, I mean, pretty much the whole race, you two were just locked onto each other. A few times one of you would sneak away from the other one, and then something would happen to bring the other right back into the mix. I mean, how tense were you that entire race? I mean, because again, you guys were all within probably about 1-2 seconds of each other that entire race there.
It's normal when we do the roads. It's you've got to be full attention all the time, because I mean, you some lap traffic is fast and some lap traffic is slow, and it's really hard to remember who's who at any particular time. So, I mean, we both got lucky a couple times where we had chaos going on in front of us, and we're able to tiptoe our way through it. I think we both got unlucky coming into the pits. I think Matt, he got unlucky the second time there, slowed up, and I was able to sneak away. And then we had some sort of an accident going through the S's there that I had to slow up for it. So that put him right back on my butt. So at that point, I just had to rely on all the push to passes I'd saved.
So now go ahead, Steve.
We spent a lot of the last few laps like trying to guess where you were using your push to passes and how many you had left. So how many did you have left?
I had 5 saved, and then I think I used one, and then on the last lap I used 2. I used one down the one on the main stretch, and then one out of the Lesmo.
Okay, because Gael was guessing that you probably use it coming out of the S's or the chicane, whatever that is, and then one on the last turn.
As much as like the main straight, as incredibly and ridiculously long it is in this configuration, the faster you can get to top speed, the better, because I mean, you're at top speed, so you're able to break away. And it was really important for me to make sure that he didn't start to get a sniff into trying to take us too wide towards the end of the straight, because at the parts where the traditional S's are, and instead we blow through them, it's sketchy. And if you try and go too wide through there, all kinds of bad things happen. So I wanted to make very sure that was not a consideration.
Yeah, so it looks like you saved your best for last as well. So you ran your fastest lap and the fastest lap of the race on that final lap, trying to keep Matt at bay. So I mean, you did everything you needed to do there. Like I said, I mean, Steve and I are that was such a great race. To say again, I kind of apologize to some of the other drivers, because we're pretty focused on you two that entire race, because you guys put on an awesome show, just lap after lap there. Just doing everything you could. It was a lot of fun to watch and to be able to commentate on.
Yeah, no, I was talking to Matt afterwards. It's like I had to thank him. It was like that was the tightest, most. I mean, we were considerate to each other, always gave each other room, but pushed hard constantly. That was I enjoyed that thoroughly.
This is this last thing I'm going to say. This is the second road course that we've had. I think 2 or 3 guys that stayed together the entire time, and I just got to tell you that's so freaking impressive. I'm in awe of how you guys drove tonight.
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, they changed the setup just before just before the practice went up. So had to spend the practice trying to figure out where I needed to change my brake bias and stuff to compensate for it. And it turned out didn't have to make much changes because quite enjoyed that setup.
So that's 3 wins in a row for you, Craig. I say last week's win, you say you were able to bring it, get the points lead back after having trouble on your first race at Texas, like you had mentioned. But now, say you're able to get the lead extended a little bit as well with getting the win here tonight. Say Eric Schaus obviously able to recover and grab a third. So I'll say kind of looks like you two are going to try to kind of steal the show again, and fight it out between the two of you. Again, we're still really early in the season, but I say it looks like you two are definitely on course to battle out again for the end.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't count Matt out at all either because I think he missed the first race of the first 2 races, but other than that, he's been hot and heavy the entire way here.
Yeah, you're definitely right on that one. I say it's going to be really interesting to see how everything pans out. But again, I mean, Craig, awesome job tonight. Definitely want to give you the floor here, though. Any thanks, shouts you'd like to give for that win tonight?
Oh, as usual, I got to thank the Area 51 guys and good bunch of guys. Come race with us on Tuesday nights in the Indy cars. If you like the Cup cars, they do all that stuff too. And you guys over at Green White Checkers, always a good broadcast. Gotta love you guys. And Butt Kicker for sponsoring the whole thing. And my wife for putting up with this and cooking me food afterwards.
That's a good way to finish off the race. So yeah, so great win again, Craig. I'll say definitely enjoy that one. It was well earned. So, and I'll say look forward to catching you again here soon. So enjoy it, and we'll talk to you here hopefully next week.
Yep, congrats on the win.
Thanks, man. Stay safe.
All right, Steve. So that was our race winner, Craig Forsyth, in that number 131 machine. Yeah, I mean, that, again, 51 laps here tonight at Monza. I'd say it was definitely not an easy one by any means for these drivers, but I say when it was all said and done, though, Craig just able to hold off Matt Wagner. But yeah, I mean, those two put on a great show at the end.
Yeah, definitely. As we said before, it was a really fun, intense race to watch.
Yeah, so we'll pull up our results here. So again, Craig Forsyth getting the win over Matt Wagner. Eric Schaus, we mentioned, recovering from that early incident there to bring it home back into that third position. So great recovery drive for him, especially on the point side of things. Chris Jabot brings it home in fourth. I'm sure ruining his chances of an interview with us, but again, still a really good run for him tonight. It's like he was also one of those drivers that's in that points battle as well. So he's going to have to do everything he can, and he definitely did what he needed to tonight. Max Davies going from 20th to 5th, so great job by him moving on forward towards the race. I believe is our highest climber of the race. Charles Johnson also recovered from that lap 1 incident to bring it home in 6th, so great job by Charles as well. Jason Bridges in 7th. Benjamin Combs brings it home in 8th. David Patton in 9th. David Leclerc brings home a top 10 in that number 50 machine. I actually got to mention Benjamin Combs as well, Steve. 22nd to 8th there.
Yep, that's impressive.
Then we got 11th through 20th here. John Burrell brings it home in 11th position. Great run for John. So I think just try to keep it out of trouble. Also for John, 26th to 11th, so plus 15 for him. I believe actually ties Max Davies for the most positions gained there. You got Jack Walls, James Ledford, Charles Teed, Joy Jatina, AJ Hobson, Gary Corley, Jared Kaczynski, Chris Tague, Logan Helton. And unfortunately, those drivers, a lot of these, you'll see that caught up in that lap 1 incident there with Corey Lane, Nicholas Winook, Michael Spell, Jim Brooks, AJ Musselman, and Don Runkle Jr. We had mentioned a lot of those drivers. Some of those drivers actually started in the pits to avoid it, got caught up in it regardless. Just not the nights they were hoping for. But again, I think just unfortunate, just a little bit of mistakes, and maybe the setup change maybe threw a few drivers by surprise and just didn't have quite the feel that they had in that previous week. With that, though, of course, for myself and Steve Gottschalk, really want to thank you all for joining us here at Green White Checker TV. Again, if you're interested in looking into this, they do race broadcast with us 3 times a week. And I believe they also have some races to just try to bring some more drivers into the league as well. So you can find them at area51iracing.com. And so we'll be back on Thursday night for the Cup Series. Say either, I believe I'll either have myself and Don Runkle Jr. or I will have Dale not in the booth with me. So until Thursday, as always, if you can, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good night.
Yep. Have a good night, everyone.